Hello and welcome to this premium episode number 359. I'm Cornelius Fichtner. Premium means that this interview is reserved for you, our premium subscribers. Thank you very much for being here and for supporting the podcast. Shipyards and dockyards are places where ships are repaired and built. And here we are talking about yachts, military vessels, cruise liners, and other types of cargo or passenger ships. And of course, in order to stay on time, on budget, and on scope, a shipyard project manager oversees the project. Fernando Remolina has been working in shipbuilding project management for about a decade. He's one of the few voices that write and speak about their experience in managing projects on ships. It's a fascinating and centuries-old industry that requires the project manager to have lots of technical expertise. Beyond that, shipyard project management, however, follows a pretty standard approach. You initiate, plan, execute, monitor and control, and then you close the project. But as in any other industry, it is what you do that makes the difference. So let's hear what it is that makes that difference. Enjoy the interview.
The Project Management Podcasts feature interview. Today with Fernando Remolina, Project Manager at Curaçao Dry Dock Company, Project Management author, and public speaker.
Fernando, welcome back and thank you for your time here.
Hi Cornelius, it's a pleasure to be here again with you.
We are going to continue to talk about shipyard projects. Let's begin with some basic questions for our interview here. What is a shipyard?
Shipyard is a place where ships are repaired or built. Shipyards are located near to seashores or rivers. A shipyard has all the facilities, manpower, and equipment for ship repair and shipbuilding.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about ship repair, when I look at a ship, first of all, a ship can be very, very big. And the second thing is, a ship is in the water. So how do you repair something that big that is in the water?
Exactly. This is a very interesting process, actually, Cornelius. Maybe you can imagine a big pool, let's say 200 meters long, big pool, and it's full of water at the same level of the seawater. We have a big gate that is open. The ship enters to that pool. The gate is closed, and then we start with big, massive pumps to pump out all the water from that pool. So the vessel, divers are involved in this process because they have to check that the vessel sits properly in some blocks. These blocks are made of cement and have some wooden planks on top, special wooden, so that the ship can sit on it without any problem, without affecting the structure of the vessel. So when we are pumping out the water, the vessel is going down and sitting on the blocks. Then when it's completed seated, all the water is out, and then you have the vessel completely out of the water.
Is that what is called a dry dock?
Exactly. That's the dry dock.
Okay. So what are some of the reasons why ships need to go to a shipyard for repair?
There are two main reasons. The first one is because the ship had an accident or main equipment is damaged and they need some specialized manpower to repair. And the second reason is because vessel condition need to be certified. All the ships must have classification society. They are the ones in charge to certify that vessels are in good shape and comply with all rules in order to give the services for what they have been built. As part of the rules that classification society has, they demand to ship owners to enter to dry dock every 2 or 2.5 years for inspections and maintenance. In those two situations, Cornelius, shipyards are the key players to keep the vessels working.
How many shipyards are there around the world?
Well, Cornelius, based on recent research, I found that there are 2,523 shipyards in the world. Can you imagine how big this industry is?
Yeah, that is huge because each of those shipyards has at least one project manager working for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. How long have you personally been working in a shipyard?
I have been working for almost 30 years.
Wow. And how long have you been a shipyard project manager?
Yeah, actually, I have been 6 years as a shipyard project manager.
Yeah. And well, let's sum it up here. Thousands of ships, 2,500 shipyards around the world. I just had a guess there, but how many project managers do you think work in shipyards?
That is a good question, Cornelius. You can multiply those 2,523 shipyards times 4 project managers each as a minimum. Some of them has more, some of them has less. But then you will have, if you multiply times 4, then you will have a total of 10,092 project managers.
Wow. Okay, so I have a challenge for all our listeners out there. If you are a project manager who works in a shipyard, do us a favor. Go to the website pm-podcast.com, go to this episode right here and tell us, yes, I am a project manager who works in a shipyard. Let's see how many listeners we have who actually work in shipyards. All right, moving on. What is the role of a project manager in a ship repair project? What do you do?
Okay, as a project manager, I am responsible about all the aspects of the project, from planning, customer satisfaction, till project financial results. That's basically my function as a project manager.
Yeah. Are you also involved in coordination between the various groups that actually do the work on the repair?
Yeah, coordination is one of the most important aspects during execution because what you plan in papers, you have to make it happen in real. So coordination and leadership skills are very important for this role.
Are there any standard project management methodologies that are used for shipyard repair projects?
Actually, Cornelius, I have been working for 3 shipyards, and all of them have their own project management process, but none of them use a recognized project management standard. But I think probably other shipyards in the world do so. Actually, project management for shipbuilding is more advanced than in ship repair.
How many projects have you personally managed in the last year?
Last year, 16 projects.
16 projects,
Yeah.
like we have learned from our first interview, and they were all repair projects.
Exactly, all repair.
Okay. And how many projects do you normally manage at the same time?
Yeah, that depends. Right now, I have 3 projects. One is a small project, the other one is almost finished, and the third one is just starting.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit here about budget. When you say a small project, the largest project that I have personally ever managed was only $1 million in cost. My projects have always been very small. When you say I'm managing a small project, what is the budget of such a project?
Small project can be, let's say, $100,000, and big project can be 10 million US dollars.
Wow. Okay. So let's review what the project manager does during the 5 process groups. But first, are we talking about one project manager? So a single person here, or do you have assistants that help you?
Actually, I am the only one who do all the project management aspects, but I have an estimator assigned to me. He helped me with the cost calculations and invoicing. In some other shipyards, depending on the complexity of the project, they can assign to the project a planner, ship manager, and also can be sometimes 2 project managers.
So let's take a look at those 5 process groups. What happens during initiation from your side?
Okay, during initiating, a project manager is assigned to the project and is handed over information like the tender of repair, drawings, mails, job specs, etc. During initiating, the project manager analyzes the initial scope stated on the tender, all the constraints assumptions, risk, some estimate for time and cost as well.
And then during planning, we've already discussed developing the WBS. So I assume that developing the initial WBS is a big part of planning.
Yes, of course. Planning, you have a lot of things to do actually. I can divide it in three major items. The first item is that all documents received during initiating should be analyzed with the production departments in order to uncover risk, analyze resources that you need, analyze the quality requirements, questions about scope, and to make time estimation. With all of this information, a WBS, as you mentioned before, an estimated schedule can be done, but without setting a baseline. The number two, yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the number two item is you have a kickoff meeting with the client. In this meeting, the project manager will discuss with the client the scope of job based on the tender of repair. In this meeting, additional jobs will be asked to the shipyard and will be some cancellations from client side. The project manager solves the questions made by production departments, and from this point, the project scope is more clear, and the WBS with the schedule need to be adjusted according to the discussion with the client, but again, without setting the baseline. Number three, the project manager need to define which jobs will be subcontracted or made in-house. As you said, Cornelius, the vessel has not arrived to the shipyard and sub-jobs need to be confirmed once the vessel enters to dry dock.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. How can you plan if you have never seen the ship?
Exactly.
It seems rather difficult to me.
Exactly. As I mentioned, there are some vessels equipment that are below the water and only can be inspected in dry dock. So as from that time, you can make a plan, but need to be confirmed with vessel enters to dry dock, and you can see the real scope, because before that is yours some assumptions. So only at that time you can set a baseline.
Mm-hmm. I assume that you start out with an idea of what you need to do. You have years of experience, so you know, okay, this is a vessel of this type, so very likely here is what we're going to have to do. But once the ship is in the dry dock, the water has been pumped out, and you can have a real look at it, things are going to get hectic because you now see what really has to be done, and you have to start renegotiating with your customer in regards to, this is what we had planned, but here is what we really have to do. Is that right?
Exactly. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, what you have is, again, you make some estimates, Cornelius, and also the client, all of them know very well that we need to wait for the vessel to enter to dry dock. But based on experience, and as you said, type of vessel, maybe job request, you can think, okay, this can take 3-4 days, 5 days, but need to be confirmed as soon as the vessel enters dry dock. And then you can say, okay, my client, okay, Cornelius, your project will take 10 days, will take 15 days because of this, and this.
Mm-hmm. And let's also not forget, you are on the island of Curaçao. Your customer is probably not on the island, right? They're somewhere around the world, and we are talking about video conference meetings here.
Yeah, but normally this is done when commercial department is busy with the clients, receiving the job specs, just preparing some quotations, send it back to the client. When they made the agreement to bring the vessel to repair is when the project manager is assigned. So actually I don't have video conference with clients before the vessel arrive. Normally the client arrives 2-3 days before vessel arrive to the island, so you can discuss previously the scope of work.
Okay. So the client actually does send a physical representative to you so that the physical representative is in the dry dock.
Exactly.
Okay, so that was initiating and planning. How about executing?
Okay, during executing, finally the vessel arrives to the shipyard and a meeting is held on board with all stakeholders. That means shipyard, staff, and ship stuff. The assumptions are clear, scope and schedule are finally baseline, and the project starts execution according to the plan. Here is when all specialized workers like welders, painters, mechanics, electricians make the repair possible. They are the real starring of this movie.
You mentioned earlier on that you have to decide whether some jobs are done internal or whether you have to outsource them. Generally, do you have a rule of thumb? Is it, 90% in-house, 10% outsourced, or 50-50? How many people do you have to hire on externally?
Well, normally the shipyard that I work for, just we have contractors, but we try to do all the jobs by ourselves. But there are some certain jobs that we cannot do, so we have the need to outsource the service. So, but I can say it's not too much, actually, Cornelius.
Okay. You mentioned earlier on that you may have somebody assigned to you, maybe an estimator, maybe a scheduler to help you with managing the project. But in the end, you have to interact with everybody during executing, right? So are you on the ship every day? Are you talking to the people performing the work? Are you overseeing things? Do you have foremen who work for you and help with coordinating all the work?
Yes, exactly. Most of the time during execution, I have to be on board. I have to walk around the vessel. Yes, I have contact with my client every day, all the time, personally, by phone. Also, I have contact with all my foremen. They are my project team. Also with my estimator. So I need to check the progress. If everything is progressing according to plan, I receive all the issues. I need to address them. So basically, during execution, I'm kind of busy.
I can imagine. A very hectic time.
Yeah.
What do you do in regards to monitoring and controlling? Because in our first interview, we talked about how you develop the WBS, how it becomes a schedule and all that. And how do you actually get the real data back into your systems? How do you know that all the tasks have been completed?
Yeah, sure. During this stage, it's critical for the project manager. Here, he needs to control all the important aspects of the project, like time, cost, quality, safety, risk, of course, the additional jobs, among others. He needs to follow in detail the critical path of the project. This is very, very important because we have short time projects and you need to follow in detail the critical path. Also, you have to attend daily meetings on board to report the progress to the client. This is part of monitoring and controlling. And as I mentioned during executing, also here during controlling, I have to walk around to see the progress of the jobs and solve the day-by-day issues.
Do you use earned value management?
Of course, I have to use it. This is very important, very crucial. You need to use earned value management to control cost and time performance in order to take corrective actions if needed. These projects are short in time with high working load, which makes this project very complex. That's the reason why an EVM control should be done at least 3 days a week for informed and on-time decisions making.
Do you have somebody assisting you with that? Is that something that you personally do?
I do it personally, Cornelius.
All right. And then we're moving on to closing. What are the main tasks that you work on during closing?
Well, Cornelius, during closing, is also very critical for the project manager because he needs to face the client, defend all the jobs done, and its prices. Successful negotiation depends on several factors like negotiation planning, cost forecast, project estimated contribution margin, and the most important, the performance of the project. This can weaken or strengthen your negotiation power. After negotiations, a feedback is asked to the client, all resources are released, and lessons learned are discussed.
What's the official language on the ship? How do you communicate with the people on the ship? How do you communicate with the customers? In what language?
English. Actually,
English.
yes, we attend people from all around the world. I have worked with Chinese people, with Japanese people, with Dutch people. Actually, I am with a German right now, and also from Venezuela, or also local. A lot of people from all around the world. So the main language on board and also in the shipyard is English.
Mhm. We have learned that one of the reasons why the ships come to you is to make sure that they are, pardon the pun, ship shape. So is there a classification society that has to inspect the ship before it goes back out?
Of course, classification society have to inspect all repairs demanded by them in order to give all certificates to the vessel to continue operations.
How hectic and stressful are your projects?
Oh my God, Cornelius. It can be very hectic and stressful, but exciting at the same time. It is very important to know how to handle the pressure because it is received from all sides, like client, bosses, head of department, foremen. Everybody is demanding something. All the problems are addressed through the project manager. Definitely, you have to love this job to do it. In the bright side, you enjoy seeing that big monsters out of the water. You meet people from all around the world. You can learn from other cultures and you can master the project management tools because you can use it on every project you have and you can manage at least minimum 16 projects a year.
Yeah. How important is industry experience to manage these projects right?
Yeah, here you should have two types of experience for this kind of project. One is the technical experience about ship repairs, standards, etc. And the most important for a project manager position is the project management experience and knowledge, of course. During my years of experience working in this industry, I have noticed that if you are in a project manager position, it's not enough to be the technical smartest guy. You can take very good technical decisions, but what about the project management decisions?
So, in that case, what is the most critical work that you do as a project manager that makes these projects a success for your customer?
Okay, I can say two important things. One is coordination and communication. Cornelius, you can make a very nice plan with all your team, but when a vessel arrives and you are not there to coordinate all the things, then the project will start to fall behind the schedule. A project manager needs to make the plan happen.
Right. Okay. Fernando, thank you so much for introducing us to these highly complex and very interesting projects in the shipyard. I appreciate your time.
Okay, no, thanks to you, Cornelius. I'm very happy to be here with you and explain a little bit how the shipyards are and how this complex project we have shipyards.
And that was our shipyard project management interview with Fernando Remolina. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. If you are a project manager who wants to become PMP or PMI ACP certified, then the easiest way to do so is with our sister podcasts, the Project Management Prepcast or the Agile Prepcast, and study for the exam by watching the in-depth exam prep video training from pmprepcast.com. As always, you can find us on the web at pm-podcast.com. Please send your emails to info@pm-podcast.com, and when you write, please do tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this statement from Tom DeMarco. What we are looking for is managers who are awake enough to alter the world as they find it, to make it harmonize with what they and their people are trying to accomplish. Until next time.